Hey, what's up, everybody? You are listening to a brand new episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, and you're also watching this because it will be on YouTube. Like we always say, make sure that you like, subscribe, and comment, so that way you can always keep up with the boys here at the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks team. And on today's episode, we have with us one of my good friends and somebody who I have wrestled in the ring, and I've beat, I don't know how many times, but I've beaten him numerous times, and that is Mr. Dewan O'Neal, Mr. Second to None. How are you doing today, bro?
I'm well, man. Again, thank you guys for having me up here, man. It means a lot, and I'm happy to come on and be a guest on a platform that you've built, and you guys have done like extremely well. Like even before, getting on the show, I've been a fan, so it's a huge honor to like be a part of this.
Hey, we appreciate that, man. Thanks for the kind words.
Thank you.
No, not just words, man. Just their actions. You guys put in like a lot of good work. You guys have a good time every time you record, and like even when I hear clips, I'm like, hey, I gotta go check this episode out. So like, you guys definitely, the chemistry is definitely there, and it's enjoyable. So happy to be here.
Thank you, hey, bro. We try to always keep it 100 up here.
Yeah, okay. This line.
Yeah, you hear this guy?
No, we do keep it 100. I keep it 100. These guys, it's like they're always speaking blasphemy. And, I have to deal with them every week. Luckily it's only like once a week for the most part whenever we record episodes. And
we get together like 5 times a week.
Yeah, man. What's he talking about? You hear this guy?
Already lying.
I'm not
wait a
lying
minute.
about
Wait.
anything.
Now hold on, Rondell. Hold on.
Oh! Hold on, Rondell.
Hold on. We see the social media posts. We see who you're hanging out with and who you're not on and off recording days. We see it. So that's not gonna fly. I was born at night, but not last night, as the old adage goes.
That's right.
That's right.
That's what this guy does, though, man.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, we know. You're already sitting over there looking like a villain. The lights off. Hey, where's the evil cat?
I got him locked up in the cage right now.
I believe that.
Running around and screaming and hissing and coughing up fur balls and all that other good stuff. So, Dewan, again, thank you for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about your wrestling career, your book that you just had come out, and we're going to also talk about some of our favorite African-American wrestlers in wrestling history, since it is Black History Month. So, before we get into the wrestling aspect of your career, tell everybody your origin story. Who is Dewan O'Neal?
Dewan O'Neal is a punk kid from Boston that had absolutely no discipline whatsoever. Did the college thing, was kicked out of college for smoking weed. When I kicked out of college, they took my scholarship basically, which effectively kicked me out of college, and joined the military to finish college and pay off debts. Had a lot of fun, seen a lot of countries. Ended up in Virginia, where I met you, Mr. Banks, and began pro wrestling. I was trained, air quotes, at a place here in Norfolk, in the Virginia Beach area, and then hit the road, and hit the road to and found out that I knew absolutely nothing. I still know absolutely nothing, but I've started to build a brand for myself, man, and getting the name out there, and becoming more confident as the years pass, and like my skill and my know-how and my network improves. So that's me, man. Poet, motivational speaker, brand new life coach, pro wrestler, military serviceman. I try and do it all like you, Banks.
Yeah, I don't do it all. I mean, like what you do a lot. I do some, but you do a lot, bro. And I'm proud of how far that you've come in your career and everywhere that you've gone and the places that you've been. Because I did see you when you first started in the business, when you were at the age. And I remember my tag partner Griff had told me about you. And the first story that he told me, because in the wrestling business, most of the time you're going to always start off as a security guard or something. And I remember Griff told me that you and Chad Still Magnolia, y'all were security guards. And Griff was just like, man, they got these new guys over at the H, and they supposed to be holding me back, and like they won't doing nothing. and he was just like, and these are some big guys. These are some big guys, and it's like they weren't holding me back at all. Like I was just able to, get around them and everything. And I was just like, well, Griff, I mean, you are a scary guy, so I mean, maybe they didn't want to get hit. Maybe they didn't want to get hit with the cutter or anything. Who knows?
Let me give you the backstory behind why that happened. Okay,
here we go.
Yes. So it was I remember it was 2016, I think it was, and I had legit only been training like 2 weeks, right? And the show was coming up, and Griff was there, and he was feuding with the commentator, Mr. J.
Yeah.
Inside of the, and they had the whole like Black Russian gimmick going on over there, and Griff and I think it was Asafi were tag teaming at that time, I think, and something happened in the ring where like one of the owners at HCW actually had some like legit like beef with Griff about something that happened in the locker room.
I believe that.
Something like, but it was like legit heat to the point where like he's pulling us all to the side and being like, hey man, if stuff gets out of hand, man, we need to know that y'all are gonna ride. And I'm like, wait a minute. It's like, wait a minute. Like, wait a minute. I'm a street kid from Boston. When we say ride, I'm assuming that you don't mean that. There's no way that you mean that. And he was like, yeah, man, I don't understand. No, he absolutely did. He absolutely 100% did. And so the main event that night was Griff and Asafi against the Black Russians, and like it was a street fight, and went off without a hitch. The main event was on fire, right? And at this time, if you remember Banks, I'm not sure if you like if Travis or you guys remember that at the time the H had the ring, but the fans only sat on one side.
Right. And
one side of the ring was against the wall, and it was two empty sides.
Weird.
So like small play, and somebody hit Griff with the lid of the trash can, right? And at this point, like the shot was like too hard, right? It was like I'm not pulling this. You're eating all this. So it ensued like a fight. It all broke down or whatever. And at this point, like everything's like still going good. It's a street fight. This is what it's supposed to look like. All right, cool. We're good. And the fight broke up, and they came out and they're like, "Hey, get in the ring and separate this." So we jump in the ring, and the owner that had beef with Griff like ripped his vest.
I knew that pissed him off.
So listen, so at this point, it's a street fight or whatever, but anybody that knows Griff knows he's serious about his gear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, he gets mad.
Right,
he's serious about everything.
He takes the time he handcrafts it. You know what I mean? And he puts a lot of time into it because, as any wrestler should.
Yeah.
So when it got ripped, and I was like, and he was like, he dropped a couple F-bombs. Right, and at this point, they're fighting. We bring him back, and he's like, "Nah, let me go." And again, I'm 2 weeks training. Right at this time, I don't know the difference between, I'm going to drop some insider terms here, a shoot and a work. I didn't know. Excuse me, I didn't know the difference. So Griff is all intense all the time. So I kind of like let him have it to see, to see where he was going. And turns out he was mad for real, inaccurate, because we got in the back of the locker room, man. It almost continued, and I was like, hey man, the show's over there, and they had plywood walls separating the fans and the locker room at that time.
And everybody could hear it.
So everybody could hear it. So at the time, the ring announcer's trying to wish the fans a good night. You're still blah 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 blah, and and I'm like, hey man, there's only plywood right here. What are y'all doing? And so that's why that happened, because I'm not gonna step. Listen, I'm not one. I didn't know, and two, I'm not about stepping in between a man and his satisfaction. Okay,
yeah, that man handle his business.
I get you on that. I know, I want to say it was the second H show that I had went to, and the main event, it was Griff versus the Black Russian at Chaos. And I remember me and my boy, we were sitting in the crowd watching it, and like the match, it kind of ended funny, and Griff was mad. And like I wasn't friends with him at this point. I didn't know who Griff was. I just knew Diamond Victor Griff, the wrestler. And it was like, I knew it was legit because he was holding the title and he was standing at the entrance and he slammed the title down on the ground like a child would slam a toy on the ground. And I was just like, oh snap. I was just like, this is legit. Like Griff, it's like, yo, I thought that they were about to come to blows, man. And I was just like, so this is the dark side of wrestling.
Well, so at that place, like a little background on that too is where like one of the owners wanted to run it like old school 80s, WCW, WWE Saturday night, like, studio audience, and was like very, very, very old school. And to Griff's credit, actually, he saw it and where wrestling was headed, and he wanted to do like more edgy stuff. So instead of coming out, in a bomber jacket with a towel around your neck or what have you, like Griff was like, nah, man, I'm Diamond Victor Griff. Like you either gonna let me be me or we're not gonna be at all. And so they were at odds about that entire feud. And so when that was going on, like when they were in the ring with each other, I can't guarantee that people didn't get peppered. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so, question for you: how did you get into wrestling? Were you always a wrestling fan, and you just said, "Hey, I want to go ahead and start wrestling," or like, what was the story with that?
Well, I got into wrestling completely by accident, right? So, as a kid, right, ever since like Bret Hart, Iron Man, 60-minute match, further than that. Back when Sean kicked Rashad, I was a fan. Cool to wear spandex to me. And Shawn Michaels presented like this larger than life like persona, and so I was kind of like, all right, cool. So every Monday, man, I would do it. And for Christmas every year, I would get like wrestling action figures. I used to carry them around in this red Lego suitcase. I don't know if y'all remember back in the day where like Legos used to come in a suitcase, especially if you got like a deluxe set, right?
Yeah. And
so I emptied all the Legos out. I don't even know where they went, actually. But I used to carry them. They were full of like wrestling action. So when the wrestler would come on TV, that action figure out, hold him up, and I could never stand to see Shawn Michaels getting beat up, and then he was feuding with like Bret Hart, but Sid Vicious, Yokozuna, him and Vader had a couple like stints, and it would like kill me, right? So fast forward a few years, and you got to grow up, you got to do some stuff. I mean, I still always watched, and actually the owner of the H was at a bar one night. I was here, I was in Virginia, and I was at a bar, and like I'm like 400, 500, 600 drinks deep at that point, and I walked by him, and he's like, "Hey man, you ever thought about becoming a professional?" So I sat and I looked at him, and I had to decipher whether or not he was serious, because we're at a bar, and I'm assuming that everybody drinks at least as much as I do. So I look at him and I'm like, yeah, only every day of my life. And he was like, well, here, man, come by the school, this, that, and the third. So I did. And then that story leads into like the first story that I told about how like 2 weeks later, I'm staying in security and I'm supposed to be watching what's going on and everything like that. And I guess that turned out to be, okay.
That's a good
2 weeks, bro.
Yeah, that's a good origin story, to how you became a wrestler and got into it. I think for me, I had went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and it was.
Oh, bro, we ain't asked you.
It was at SPW. No, but I'm just saying, because like it's a similar story to where it's like, you're out somewhere, you're out at a bar or something, and then it's like the owner of the promotion is just like, hey, do you want to be a wrestler? And just like, oh yeah, I mean, like, are you serious? Like, is this a legit question? And I was just like, yeah, I want to be a wrestler. And yeah, I mean, it's just like Dewan said, it's like you kind of just get thrust in there, and then you're a security guard, I remember like when I was doing security at one of the shows, I had came in right in my Rent-A-Center outfit. And it was funny because somebody was asking me, like, they was just like, what are you picking up something from the ring or something? Like, what's going on? I didn't know that Rent-A-Center rented out wrestling rings. I was just like, nah, I'm just doing security.
Wait, Rent-A-Center has wrestling ring?
They might, depending on what state you're in.
Wow.
Okay.
The more you know.
That's right.
Hey, D, you got a question?
Well, you mentioned one of my favorite wrestlers, Dewan. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. Shawn Michaels, was he your favorite?
So Shawn Michaels, like, had probably, like, again, like, he just made people care. I mean, this is me looking back in hindsight. Before, you know, I never knew what drew me to him. And again, this was during like steroids golden era, right? Like, he had Vader in there, Yokozuna was in there. I think Lex Express was trucking around that time. And all his feuds were with people bigger than him. It was never like the guys that were brought in for enhancement talent was about his size, and everything else was like, you know, 6'10", 6'11", you know, 300-pound dudes. So, I mean, but again, looking back, man, his timing was impeccable, and the way he sold stuff made you believe like, this guy could probably kill this guy. He's probably gonna do it. And you know, he has probably the best time in wrestling history,
For sure.
if you ask me. So, like, Shawn Michaels, in my opinion, he's the GOAT.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000%. He's definitely the GOAT for me.
Oh yeah, Shawn Michaels is one of those guys, man. He gets you hype when you see him.
Yes.
Even when he came back from that back injury.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I mean, you would really think he was in pain, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When he was in his matches.
Yeah.
The way he would crawl around the ring and like be in agony. And it's like, man, this guy's giving me everything he's got right now.
The
Had
only
me believing it.
Yep.
The only thing that I didn't like about Shawn Michaels when he came back from the back injury was those doo-doo brown tights that he was wearing.
Hey, man.
I was
Tights was
not a
fire.
fan of the doo-doo brown tights. No. And it's crazy because it's like whenever me and Griff have the conversation about Shawn Michaels, it's like we always bring up the same thing. We were both not fans of the doo-doo brown Trump tights that he had. Sorry.
Rick ain't a fan of nothing, so that don't even count.
So, Dewan, I want to piggyback off of what D had asked you, and I wanted to ask you, was Shawn Michaels, was he one of the people who inspired you to step into the ring? Was he one of those people? And if not, who were some of the wrestlers who inspired you to want to get into the ring?
To actually want to get in, no, actually. I looked at people like Ron Simmons, both as Farouk and as Ron Simmons, because at the time, you know, WCW had his thing. I looked at Papa Shango. I mean, I really looked at people like that looked like me, right? And later on, eventually, The Rock, because for so long you saw, you know, and this is not a complaint, but you just saw like, you know, white people getting in there, and it's like, oh man, they must have a higher tolerance pain or something, like, you know what I mean? You didn't know. It was kind of like Obama becoming president. You know, he's kind of like, oh wait, I can do this. Like, you know what I mean? I can go and I can do this. And then if there were like African American people on there, you saw them like getting jobbed out, right? Like squashed, or you know, they didn't have a good program or a good feud. And this is like me remembering. I remember Ron Simmons and Sting, prior to him being Farouk in the E, Ron Simmons and Sting. But first it was like Ron Simmons and Luger, and at the time, you know, I wasn't a student of the game when that was happening, so I didn't realize, hey, this is the first black like heavyweight champion or what have you. I just looked out, man, you butthole, man, you hurt Sting, and this is Surfer Sting, not Crow Sting.
Yeah,
right?
Surfer.
That's important.
Surfer Sandman.
Yeah, this is Surfer Sting, the man. The Crow Sting, he's still the man, but yeah, not so much. And so you saw that kind of stuff, and then to WWE, you see, you know, I think it was Papa Shango in a feud with Ultimate Warrior. Who else was around at that time? Kamala was around for a little bit.
Coco Beware was around.
Coco Beware was around. And then you start to
really run a lot of black wrestlers in WWE.
you know, dig around. Oh, yeah. And you finally like, oh wait, I can do this. You know, because at the time, 3 channels, right? So I was only able to catch like WCW Saturdays, right? Because the E didn't have that much TV at the time. And so I could catch WCW on Saturdays, right when Tony Schiavone would rip our hearts out every week and say, hey, we'll be back next week. But they never, you guys ever notice that? Where like, they would be like, it would be like the Horsemen versus like LOD in like a feud, right? And the Horsemen would be cheating, and then they'd be like, LOD's coming down the ramp. They're coming. They look like they mean business. Oh my God, folks, we're out of time. And they never revisited what happened. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you watch the next week, and you're just like, what about, you know? And they never did it.
Like, bro, I remember, like you were saying, it's like the show would be coming to an end, and it would be like, go to WCW.com or go to WWF.com.
Yeah,
so
the hotline.
So that way you can continue seeing what's going on. I remember there was one of the episodes of WCW where Sting, he was coming to the ring on a zip line, and the show just ended. It's like we don't know what happened. And like you said, next week they never showed footage of like what happened after the show went off the air. So for all we know, it's like Sting could still be on that zip line. Which we know he's not. But as a kid, it's just like, well, what happened? Like, was he on the zip line and then like he just got stuck there or what? So I'm happy that with wrestling now that when you're watching it, you get the finished product when the show comes to an end. And
I kind of missed that though.
That to be continued, kind of.
Not so much as to like let's not revisit it or anything, but I like that. Remember when WWE would go off the air when like the ring was full of people? So we're out of time. We'll see you next week. JR's going crazy. I missed that. Yeah, like it would just be mayhem.
I take the opposite approach for that. Actually, I feel like it's too much of that. So you turn on to like WWE now, and everything's a recap of what happened last week.
Yeah.
They say, hey, we're gonna give you 3 hours of programming, but like if you do the math, about 45 minutes to an hour of that is actually showing video packages from previous weeks, and like
not even just that the previous hour.
Oh yeah.
They'll be like, guess what happened earlier tonight? They'll show it 4 times.
Yeah, you're just like, what the hell? Like, so like it's a trick, man. Like this is I think it's a conspiracy actually. Like beforehand, they were only showing what happened after the show went off to like rich people with internet, and now
exactly.
And now that everybody can buy in, they're giving you less show.
Yep.
It's crazy.
You had to have that America Online 90-day free trial in order
that AOL minutes.
AOL minutes, and then you had to tie up the landline, and nobody could get through. So that way you could see 2 minutes of what happened at the end of Raw or SmackDown or something like that. I wanted to touch back on what you had said about seeing black wrestlers in the ring and seeing people that look like you, because I was the same way. It's like, I'm black. When I saw black wrestlers in the ring, I was, of course, going to be fans of them. And I remember when I first started in the wrestling business, whenever somebody would ask me, like, who were some of my favorite wrestlers, I would say The Rock, D'Lo Brown, Booker T. And it's like some of the guys at the training school, they'd be like, of course you would only like the black wrestlers. And I'm just like, no, I like all the wrestlers. It's just that, these are my favorite wrestlers. Like The Rock is one of the wrestlers who really made me get back into wrestling, because after, the Hulkster and Macho Man and all that stuff, I kind of stopped watching wrestling. So it was cool to see somebody black on the screen that was up there kicking ass and taking names. And then he was charismatic as hell. You know what I'm saying? So, thank you, Rock, for being the person that you were. And I can't wait to see Young Rock when it comes out on NBC next month. Oh, I'm sorry, not next month, but this month. I forgot. I think it's February 16th, I believe.
Yeah, February 16th. Yep.
On Austin 316 Day. So yeah.
Oh snap!
Of course, it's coming out. The feud still continues. So Dewan, because you had brought up some of the black wrestlers, and because this is Black History Month, who are some of your favorite African American wrestlers in wrestling history, past and present, past and present, not future? We don't know.
I mean, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Booker T. Obviously, I discussed Farouk earlier. D'Lo for sure. I could never understand why D'Lo had to I could never understand why he did that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, for sure. And listen, for the record, D'Lo Brown has one of the most slept on entrance songs.
Oh, for sure.
You messing with the real
Yes. I used to love that song when it came on. Like I used to like watch D'Lo's entrance just for that song. You know what I mean? For sure. Yeah, Farouk for sure. The Rock, Booker T, the Godfather persona.
Yeah, the Godfather. Yeah.
I mean, for obvious reasons, right? Like
Right.
he. I'm trying to think who else like from that era that I like.
Well, I know he's not a wrestler, but we gotta include Teddy Long, man.
For sure. Oh, okay, Rodney Mack.
Rodney Mack, yeah.
Hey, don't leave out my man.
Hey, that was another.
Don't leave out my man, Sexual Chocolate. Now,
Hey,
Nah, man.
big man.
Nah, man. I feel like he got played, man. He went from like Mr. America to like being the father to a hand to an old lady, man. I don't know what was going on. I
don't know what that was either.
but that moment is iconic. You know what I mean? Like you still talk about it.
It was gross. Like when I saw it as a kid, like I was just like, "What the hell's going on?"
Yeah, what the hell's going on? That's a great way to put it.
His booking never let me get behind him, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Well, what about later on?
Nah, still, because like now he he spouts off stuff on Twitter that I feel like he has no place to. Like,
Oh, I didn't know about any of that.
well, so when he came in, he was Mr. America, the world's strongest man. It's like, all right, cool. This is just like a black Lex Luger, right?
Yeah,
So
right, yeah.
it kind of was like, all right, cool, whatever. And then he went away for a while. I think he got hurt or something. And he came back and he was like the Hall of Pain guy. But then he was beating up like everybody that I liked. You know what I'm saying? He was picking on like Guerrero. He was picking on Benoit. He was picking on like, you know what I mean, the smaller people. So I was just like, well, put him in there against, Big Show, or, that's what I wanted to see. So, and then the whole Sexual Chocolate phase. But at the time, like, I'm trying to remember who had it. Like, I was looking at like Lita at the time. You know what I mean? She was sagging her pants with the thong showing. So like that did sex for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then the whole Mae Young, was it Mae Young? Yeah, it was Mae Young. And I was like, this is corny. Like, what are they doing to this guy? Like, I understand that he's getting a check for it, and he's probably being paid very handsomely. But the way that he was booked on like all of his runs never allowed me to like him. And then
saying on that. I mean, well, the reason why he was booked like that was because they had signed him to that contract where he was making a lot of money, and they were trying to get him to do stupid stuff so that he would eventually leave the company. But
Interesting.
It's just like, I'm getting paid nice. I'm gonna keep on doing what they want me to do. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of respect for Mark Henry. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to meet him when I went to WrestleMania. As a fan, I think it was WrestleMania 29 I had went to, and I was able to just talk with him a little bit. I was still green as what you see in the baby's diaper. And yeah, I mean, like he dropped some knowledge on me, and I appreciate him for that, man. Trav, some of your favorite black wrestlers?
Man, I feel like everybody's hit everybody except for one in particular.
MVP? Shelton
No.
Benjamin?
No. Well, yeah, Shelton too. Ron Killings, bro.
Ooh.
yeah, good one. Good call.
I mean,
Good call.
this dude, goes to TNA. NWA it was like NWA/TNA at the time. Won their title. Then had a feud with Mr. Perfect after that. Then left. Came back to WWE. Started doing the Mr. Jimmy. The Jimmy stuff.
Little Jimmy.
Little Jimmy.
Little Jimmy.
Little Jimmy Playboy. Come on now.
And,
Yeah, Little Jimmy's gonna get you.
dude, I mean, even still to this day, anytime that he's on TV, you're going to get entertained.
Yep.
He still got it in the ring. And, I mean, when you can make Brock Lesnar laugh and then make Brock go backstage and be like, I want to work with that guy, I think that says something about you.
D?
No, agreed. Don't you wish that like WWE like treated him like more seriously for like the caliber of athlete that he is? Like, not that what he's doing is bad, right? He's definitely like entertaining for sure. But like the caliber of athlete that he is, like and the amount of like knowledge, right? Like to me, I want to see him have like a serious go. At this time, he's like what 107-time 24/7 champ or something like that.
Yeah. But I mean, he had a serious go as K-Quick, with Road Dogg. So it's like I've seen it in NWA, I've seen it in WWF. So I like what he does. What he does extremely, extremely well. And,
Agreed. Agreed.
I can understand though from a black person's perspective of being like, he ain't no joke. You know what I mean? I could understand that.
Well, no, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, like I said, I'm very entertained when he's on the screen.
Right.
But I'm talking about from like a purely like athletic perspective, right? Like
I was going to touch on that. Remember, they were doing that with him back in, I want to say it was 2012, when he started doing the serious gimmick. But unfortunately, he got caught with drugs or something with Evan Bourne, and it's kind of like that gimmick just got put to a halt. And if you notice that when somebody...
Well, when you say drugs, it was marijuana.
It was marijuana. Yeah, marijuana. Okay.
I just don't want it to be like... Okay. He didn't get caught with crack cocaine in his pocket. Yeah, the dude's just smoking a little bit of weed.
Hey, thanks for putting it out there. Yeah, it was marijuana. And it's like, if you ever notice that anybody in WWE that is kind of getting a push, it's like they always get caught with marijuana, because the same thing happened with Jack Swagger when he was getting pushed. And like he was finally being pushed as somebody serious, and he got.
But Jack Swagger also, not only did he have weed, he was drunk driving on top of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now we're talking about different stuff.
Yeah, no good.
That's never okay.
No, never.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I feel like right now with what they're doing with Truth, I mean, like, he's having a good time with it, and it's like, I mean, like, he can just keep on doing what he's doing. Like, I know he's in his 40s right now. Truth could probably be there until he's in his 50s and 60s, because he doesn't look like he's in his 40s. He looks like he's in his 30s, and that's another thing. Black don't crack. You know what I'm saying? D, for you, favorite black wrestlers in wrestling history.
I liked Devon Dudley, because I felt like he was part of one of the better tag teams. Obviously, Farouk, I really liked him a lot. And Booker T, probably. I mean, The Rock. I mean, The Rock is just one of those guys, though. I don't
feel like The Rock gets looked as a black wrestler.
I mean, I think they claim him, though. I think they try to.
The Rock definitely comes to the cookout.
Yeah, exactly.
The Rock definitely comes to the cookout.
Because remember when Kofi won the title, everybody was like, "We finally get a black champion." Rock's been champion 7 times, and nobody was claiming that he was a black champion.
But he was part of the nation, so as far as I'm concerned, he's in.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
I think what it was is that Kofi was the first African American champion, whereas Rock was the first.
Samoan?
You can say it. He's mixed. He's not pure black.
We get that.
He was the first mixed champion. He's still counted as black. Like Dewan said, he's still invited to the cookout.
Yeah, he's coming.
It's just one of those things where, growing up, it's like we knew that The Rock was black, but it was like WWE, they never really pushed him as a black wrestler. They always pushed his Samoan side. You know what I'm saying? So like that's the reason why a lot of black fans don't really count him as black, even though he is black. But yeah, I mean, like, he was the first black WWE champion. I mean, you gotta put respect on The Rock for doing that. It just sucks that it took from The Rock all the way to Kofi Kingston for WWE to finally have a black WWE champion. And of course, we had the World Heavyweight Championship there, but it came from WCW. And WCW, they did a really good job, even though it wasn't a lot. When you look at it, Ron Simmons and Booker T were the only black heavyweight champions in WCW. But I mean, it's like how Dewan was saying earlier. It's like, you really didn't have a lot of black wrestlers in WCW, and if you did, they were just jobbers. They were never gonna reach the top of the mountain in WCW.
Yeah, but I think location had a lot to do with that, right? WCW being headquartered in Atlanta, versus WWE or WWF at the time being headquartered in Connecticut. right? So like mindset like had a lot to do with it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. A couple of people that we didn't mention. I don't know if anybody said MVP. I think I said that to Trav.
You did in the thing, but yeah, put some respect on MVP, bro.
MVP is a good one. Bobby Lashley, Viscera. Even though a lot of people don't really like Viscera, I thought Viscera was very entertaining, especially when he was doing the not the sexual chocolate,
the pajamas,
the lady man, the world's largest love machine. I enjoyed that. And
for sure.
Like, even going to TNA, I mean TNA, like they were very diverse with having a lot of diversity on their roster.
But not in the champion spot though,
Yeah, not in the champion spot, but we had Jay Lethal, we had Consequences Creed, who is Xavier Woods now.
Monty Brown.
Monty Brown is another one. So it's like, we had people in these companies, and I always thought that they did a really good job. It's just that, like you said, Trav, they were never in the top spots in the companies and whatnot. But yeah, so moving back, Dewan, another wrestling question for you. What are some of your favorite moments that you have had in your career so far?
Winning championships. No, I'm joking. Dude, there's a lot. All my favorite moments though always come from like me learning something, right? So the ROH seminar taught me about like working cameras, or anytime I can get in the ring with somebody better than me, like such as yourself. I will never admit this again. But I actually learned a lot from you. Like in our, I think we've been in the ring like 2 or 3 times. But I always get like, one of my biggest critiques is that like I fly around the ring like a cruiserweight, right? And people tell me, hey, work your size. And I'm just like, hey, all right, cool. What does that mean? Right? But like watching somebody like you, right, can like I learn different like techniques for like controlling the crowd or stuff like that. So like I'm ever learning. So my favorite moments don't necessarily come from like matches or moments, but like from learning. Like when I wrestled CW Anderson, I wrestled him WrestleMania weekend 2 years ago, and I think that's when it was in Jersey. I wrestled him that weekend. When I went to Canada with like Bob Evans, like I learned how to travel, be like a good traveler, what to pack, how to keep it inexpensive for yourself, things like that. So all my moments come from like stuff like that, seminars, and just being in a locker room. So I really don't have too many favorite moments in front of the camera or that's visible to like the public. But all my favorite moments come from like stuff that I kind of just put in my tool bag.
Yeah, that's how it always is. Just
gotta get that tool bag going.
Oh, absolutely.
Always work.
Hold on, let me change headphones here.
Okay.
Real quick, mine's about to die.
But like I was saying, like just always working with people that are better than you.
Were you talking that whole time?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No, I just started talking now.
Oh, okay.
But no, like I was saying, just always working with people that are better than you, so that way you always feel that you're learning every time that you step into the ring. I feel like that's something that you should do whenever you do anything in life. Like every time you do something, like you're always learning, you're always getting better, you're always honing your craft, and that's one of the things that I love about wrestling, because I feel like if you think that you're not learning anything whenever you step into the ring or whenever you come through that curtain, I just feel like you're just always going to be stagnant, and you're always going to be stuck in that same spot, and you're never going to grow. You have to be somebody that takes criticism, good and bad, and you have to be willing to grow, so that way that you can make it in this business.
Well, to jump in on that real quick, that was part of the reason why I left the H, actually. So I went on a road trip and with Max Morrison. Yeah, it was.
We went to Tennessee.
Yeah, we went to Tennessee. Came back. We did the show. We went there. Basically, we all got beat up in Tennessee.
I think me and you were the only 2 black people in town too.
in town for the next 3 towns over. You remember we stopped at that gas station and that lady was like, the lady was like, hey, we don't sell to you. Actually, our buddy Rock went in there and we all kind of stood outside because we were all kind of sketched out.
That's crazy.
And, she looked out the window and was like, hey, we don't sell to your kind, like legit.
Holy.
So
that's wild.
Yeah. I mean, that's a story for like another day. Like Gilbert Banks, he'll tell you that story. But so I went back, you know what I mean? Because at that point, I was kind of drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak, of, hey, I only need to wrestle here and make this place the best we can make it. That kind of, which is complete nonsense. Yeah. And so my goal was to go out on the road, learn what the other people were learning, bring it back to there, teach the guys there, right? And that was my plan the entire time. But at some point there, and I think Banks would agree, like I became like the best person there. Like knowing nothing, I was the best person there. And I always wanted to get better. What's stopping me from, you know, matching up with this guy? How do I get booked with this guy? So I went to the owner and I was like, hey, either I'm going to go to these shows and wrestle people better than me, or you need to bring people better than me here. And at that time, he was refusing to bring people in for like social media beef or whatever, whatever was going on. And yep, exactly. And so I was like, you know what, forget this. Like nobody cares about your career like you do. And if I want to be at the next level, I need to train with the people at the next level. So that's kind of like the parting ways. That was the beginning of the rift between me putting the Kool-Aid cup down and like becoming like who I am now.
So, the piggyback.
Yeah, it's real, D. It's real.
Oh yeah, I believe, man.
Yeah, because like, bro, I remember I used to have the same type of situation where it was like, you can only wrestle here. You're not allowed to wrestle anywhere else. If you go anywhere else, you're dead to me. And it's crazy because with that type of mindset, if that means that if I had an opportunity to go wrestle in Japan or go wrestle in Canada, that promoter would be like, no, you're not allowed to go there. You're only allowed to stay here. And it's just like, you're never going to be able to grow if you only stay in the same spot. And it sucks that some people can have that mindset. You know, it's like, I do appreciate, you know, the S and the H giving us the opportunity to, you know, get our feet in the door and, you know, learn how to become professional wrestlers. But other than that, you know, we had to be like birds and fly away. We had to get pushed out of the nest, so that way that we could become Benjamin Banks and Dewan O'Neil, because originally we weren't Benjamin Banks and we weren't Dewan O'Neil.
Facts.
I was D Money and he was the Juggernaut. So
facts.
Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So you know, it's just all about growing and, you know, becoming who we are meant to be when it comes to you know, this wrestling business. So let's move a little bit further and talk about your book that you just released. All right, so Dewan, what was the inspiration in you wanting to write a book?
So all right, so the heads up, the show's getting ready to get heavy. Okay. So I left for deployment and my wife was pregnant with Dominic. And I was supposed to be back probably 2 weeks before he was born. Nobody saw COVID coming. Nobody saw the BLM protest. Nobody saw the murder of George Floyd, anything like that. And there was a point when I got back, I actually got back 2 weeks after he was born. And there's so much stuff that like a father wants to pass to a son, or a mother wants to pass to a daughter, mother, you know, parents to children. And I don't believe in the philosophy that there's no roadmap to life, right? There is. You can take what you succeeded at and what you failed at, and you can use that as teaching tools for your children. So I got back in like May, right as everything was starting to heat up with the riots, and like it seemed like just one black person gunned down after another for, you know, some arguably you know, justified shootings, quote unquote, and others were just senseless. So at that point, I literally felt like the next traffic stop I go on could be my last one. or the next time I'm coming out of a store and I fit the description, it could be the last time that I left my house, you know. And I kind of wanted to leave a roadmap like to my son, so he knew that I was here. He knew that he was loved. And things, who knows, you know, my next cheer shot could be my last like sane moment, right? Like, or, you know, so at that point I needed to have like all my faculties like in order, and it was kind of a perfect storm because we were in the house. There was no wrestling going on, no appearances, no photo shoots, no anything. So it was kind of just like me and my family. And I took the time to be like, okay, here's the things, or here's the kind of person that I wish he would grow up to be. I can't force anything upon him. Like anybody who's read the book will tell you, I never force religion, spirituality, anything. I'm just like, hey, you know, by the time you grow up, I hope that you're like this, and I hope that you're like that. And here's what happened to me. And I talk about everything in the book. It's raw and it's vulnerable. I talk about, you know, not always being honest with his mom. I talk about stuff where I tried to shortcut the system and I fell short. I talk about all that stuff in the book because I don't want to be perfect. I don't want to seem like I was perfect or that I never did anything wrong. I feel like that sets up unfair and unrealistic expectations for him as he grew up. So as he was growing up, you know, from 2 weeks old up until I think it took me like two and a half, maybe 3 months to like write. I kind of just, as he laid in his swing, I would feed him, lay him back in his swing, and I would just, you know, write like essentially love letters to him. Like, hey, look, man, like I love you. Here's what I learned today, and anything that I learned or I picked up from watching the news or what have you, like I just put it to paper, man. And it was a compilation of like 20 letters. And the last letter to him is like a thank you, because it kind of forced me to be the person that like I fronted to be for like so long. Whereas, hey, I can't tell you to always be forgiving and accepting, and I didn't practice that. Or I can't tell you to execute and not make excuses, and I didn't practice that. So in a way, his birth actually helped me more so than anything. That's why the last letter in there, thank you to him.
Nice, man. Nice. That's very thoughtful. You know, to be a child and have your father write a book for you that is a means to help navigate your life. And it's like, I did read some of the reviews on the page, and you know, you got nothing but good reviews. So it's definitely a book that I'm going to check out since I'm starting to read more. Well, bro, hey, look, you support your friends, man.
Yep, I agree.
So I'm definitely going to get the book. And yeah, hey, we're plugging it here now. Dewan, he is one of our new sponsors. So that's why I wanted to bring him on for this episode. And I hope everybody that is listening and watching this, that you go and support him and purchase his new book.
And on that note, Dewan, I just want to say that myself, I have two, son and a daughter. Trav has two daughters. And I think that the message behind your book is a great message. And I think overall, my view as a father is to create a better product. You know, don't let them walk down the same roads that you did, and kind of be the guiding light. That is the purpose of a parent. And it's very relatable. I've seen some pretty wild stuff too. And it's fun when the time's right. You know, just to kind of unfold those things for them is fun. And just because, you wrote this guy, you wrote him a roadmap, and it's fun. I think that's a very fun idea. And kudos, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
No, I mean, like that's one of the things, man. Like it's kind of like, yeah, man. Like, you know, they say a smart man learns from experience, and a wise man learns from the experience of others. Mm-hmm. So if I can go make the mistakes or what works, then why not pass that along? I feel like too many times, and especially like the Black community,
yep,
that does not happen. No. For whatever reason. You know, you have single parent households and things like that. And who knows what will happen like in my life where, yep, you know, I may not always be there, but at least he'll have something to look to being like, hey, you know what? I am loved. I am worth something to somebody. Mm-hmm. And that's huge.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah, just giving that. Yeah, no, not to cut you off, but just giving them that driving force, I think is, you know, that's the point of it. You know, sometimes you need to have something to turn to when you don't have anything else. And I think it's like a compass. I think it's a good idea, man. Yep.
So I wanted to go ahead and bring up because you are.
So yeah, I mean, so again, man, like I feel like so to kind of lighten the mood, right?
Yep.
I feel like a lot of my spankings, or no, I'm an '80s baby. I grew up in the '90s. We took ass whoopings back then, right? So
yeah, for sure.
so a lot of my butt whippings could have been prevented had someone taken the time to explain something to me, right? Because I said so is not an acceptable answer to any kid, right?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like I try to explain why something is, right? So it's kind of like, hey, don't touch that stove. Why not? Because I said don't touch it. Okay, now you run into the ER, the kid's got a burned hand. Or don't steal. Why? Because I said so. You know, who knows where that goes. So explanation and transparency, I think is important, because like the minute that your kid, finds out, about the tooth fairy, about Santa and everything, there's already a level of trust broken, right? Like those are white lies. But imagine not explaining anything. And then, you present this perfect image of being a parent to them. And then they grow up to find out that it's all a fraud.
Yeah.
What happens then? Now they're old enough to make their own decisions. Do they forgive you? Maybe not. So I just took the opportunity, man, to be raw, to be transparent.
Yeah. I think we can all respect that.
Oh yeah, no question.
Sure. So I wanted to bring up, because now you are a host on the Social Disturbing podcast with Ryan Newsy and Mad Max Morrison, who we've had up here on the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks podcast. So how does it feel to, pretty much be running your own podcast now? And tell our listeners, like, what is the Social Disturbing podcast about?
So the Social Disturbing podcast, it was Max Morrison's brainchild. He pretty much needed an outlet. He needed to be able to talk to people during like quarantine, during COVID. You guys are, in the entertainment like industry, so to speak. A creative mind is hard, and like this was the worst thing to happen to an artistic or creative mind, because we're always going like 100 miles a minute. Like even you wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning. If you're an artist, you draw something, or you write something, or hey, this would be a good idea for this show. So that was his brainchild, and he kind of got bored and fell out of it. And Banks, as you know, like I'm the type of person, I hold my friends accountable, not to my expectations, but to their own. Right. Banks, you're on this huge weight loss journey. How many times have I been in your inbox? Hey man, keep going. What are you doing? Did you work out today?
Yes, I appreciate it.
Same thing with all my other friends across the board, because I can't consider myself a friend or an ally of yours or a supporter of yours if I don't hold you accountable to your own goals. That makes me just another person taking something from you and not offering anything back. So I did the podcast with Max, and then we always talked, and I'd be like, hey, here's my feedback from this episode. Like, not that you care, maybe you do. I mean, seriously. And then he's that type of guy, And Ryan Newsy and Max wrestled at Eclipse, I think a month ago or so, and they reconnected. And Newsy's been out of the scene for like a couple years. Yeah. And I'm coming fresh back from Africa, like deployment, as I already said. And they were like, hey, let's jump on Zoom and see this and that. And we kind of created the whole thing like on Zoom. And Social Disturbing, the podcast, the base of it is the truth. There's times on there where like I'll go off the handle. I think the other episode, like I apologize for like my shortcoming in business dealings from being like burnt out, and it's just hardcore, like straight truth. Your feelings about everything. Like we shoot on people in there. We give people the opportunity to come on and air out their grievances with us, and it's all about life and society and like real stuff, and how three men from three walks of life deal with quarantine, wrestling. There's fun times, there's sad times, there's hard times. It's just the truth. Yeah. So instead of like social distancing, we're gonna bring you together by disturbing what you deem to be perfect.
Nice.
Hell
That's
yeah.
interesting.
And just to let everybody know, I was the first guest on the first episode. I
Nice.
surprised them. I walked up in the room with the Jason mask on.
That he did.
They didn't even know that I was at Max's house. Like, I just came into the room and they was just like, "Who is that?" And Max was like, "This is like the Masked Singer. Y'all have to figure out who it is." And so I started doing the money shuffle, and then I put my pinky up there. It was like, "That's Banks." And yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool. And you know, before we go ahead and wrap this thing up, I wanted you to tell the story that you had told everybody on Social Disturbance and on how you came to know who D Money was.
All right, so again, I came around on the scene around like 2016-ish. And I think Banks, correct me if I'm wrong, this is around the time that you had just switched to Banks.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
I just became
So you know, I'm trying to learn how to throw my first punch in professional wrestling, and the Geordie Bulldogs were in the training facility that evening, and they were talking about a show at New, right? And Next Evolution Wrestling, Elizabeth City, salute. They were talking about, yeah, and then, you know, Banks came up and he was saying, you know, D Money, you know, D is this and D is that. At the same time, I had just seen a flyer for Dirty Money out of like the MCW Maryland area, right? So I'm like, D Money, Dirty Money, and they're bouncing forth between the nickname Banks and D Money. I'm just like, it's the same guy, and I'm just like, this is the same guy. And then so I saw a picture of Banks, right? But it's not the picture that was on the flyer. And my initial reaction was, what the F happened to this guy? Like, because if you know Dirty is a Zumba instructor, right? Like,
yeah.
He's ripped, like muscular, right? And light skin. Let's not leave that out, right?
Yeah, because you forgot that last time.
So I think it was a VCW show that it happened, and I was like, what the hell happened to this guy? Like, this guy was like this and like that, and you know, at the time, you know, hey, go in the locker room, don't say nothing to anybody. I'm like, dirty Money, D Money, it's got to be the same guy, but I'm legit looking at like pictures, right? Like, all right, they got the same nose. All right, cool. He had a mohawk here. This is 2 weeks later, so I was confused for like the whole time. And then I went to an SPW show because I think they were trying to run some kind of invasion angle or something.
Yeah.
And they're like, Benjamin Banks, and I was like, okay. And then it wasn't that I found out, like, you know, your name and that you started training under D Money, that like I could differentiate the two. But for like, dude, I think it was like three weeks to a month that I was actually confused. And I was like, when I see him, I'm gonna ask him what the hell happened, because I'm
somebody Sammy Sosa, this man.
No, bro. He thought it was like the Clumps. That's what he thought it was like.
Oh shit!
and it's when he told his story. Like, I'm glad that he included the light skin part, because I was like, Jugs, like, we're two different shades of black. Like what? Did he just tan himself to get to my complexion? So it was funny when he told his story, and he said that at one of the VCW shows, Dirty Money and me, we were wrestling, and he was just like, "What? So what?
How?
Like how? Like is he wrestling himself?
How?
It was just a funny story, and I told
that
him,
is some nutty professor stuff right there, though, bro.
Yeah, I was just like, bro, you have to tell this story so that way people can hear it. And just to let everybody know, I have wrestled Dirty Money before, and it was very fun. If you are in the wrestling business and you want to wrestle Dirty Money, try to wrestle Dirty Money, because you're gonna have a blast. And,
yeah, listen, real quick, I thought that you were on some Arsenio Hall in the barbershop from Coming to America, like. And here's the thing, right? Like, I'm known for having like ribs pulled on me, right? Because like I've done it to you before. I'm on the autistic spectrum, right? So like I don't always understand sarcasm, right? So it's easy to happen, like, and it's all in good fun, what have you, right? So nobody let me in on this. He was just like, yeah, man, the guy just thinks this, man, you know. And so I was like, okay, cool. So when D Money, who I knew to be D Money, and Dirty were gonna wrestle each other at BCW, I'm going to see this. I want to see how they pull this off, because it's not TV. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm looking at it, you can't fool me. And that's when the big unveil came.
There were no green screens.
No green screens.
That's amazing.
That's just funny.
Amazing.
That's a funny story.
Well, I mean, Trav can tell you, I was trolling somebody because I have my personal Facebook page, and then I had the Benjamin Banks Facebook page, and the dude, he was friends with Benjamin Banks, but he hated me on my personal page. So I told him, I was just like, oh yeah, that's just my twin brother. Like, he's very stern. Like, he pisses me off sometimes. And
this dude took it. He was arguing back between the two profiles in the comments. Like, he had this dude.
Oh yeah,
going.
That's
and I
bad.
guess he finally realized that we were
But
the same
bro,
person.
Didn't he message you to talk about your brother?
Yeah, he's
like, I can't stand your brother. He's ruining the group.
And I was just like, I'll talk to him, man.
I'll talk to him.
I'll fix stuff. But yeah, man. Hey, good story, Dewan. And on that note, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this episode. Dewan, thank you again for joining us up here on a new episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, the first episode for Black History Month. And before we let you go, tell everybody in social media land where they can find Mr. Dewan O'Neil at.
First off, thank you guys for having me. This conversation was a blast. On Twitter, Dewan O'Neil 22N, just like second to none. Dewan O'Neil 22N. On Instagram, Dewan O'Neil the number 1. Facebook, Dewan O'Neil. YouTube, Becoming Second to None. The vlogs, they come out every Thursday. The Social Disturbancing podcast is released every Wednesday, and as well as a live stream on Twitch, Social Disturbancing, which it should be called Beer with the Boys, because we all just sit around, you know, have a couple and let her rip. And of course, pick up the book Dear Dominic, available on Amazon as we speak.
Right.
Thank you. D, tell everybody in social media land where they can find you at.
That's gonna be rebellious_D23 at Instagram.com.
Trav.
And you can find me also on Instagram at ZK Audio.
And you can find me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, at KingBenji_Banks on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook by typing in Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. You can also follow all of the Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks social media accounts at Leveling Up Banks. And also tune on to our podcast where we release episodes every Tuesday, brand new ones. And if you're feeling generous and would love to donate to us, at Leveling Up Banks over at Patreon. And I think that's everything.
That's it, baby.
I didn't leave anything out. Okay, all right.
That's right.
Juan, again, thank you for joining us. And
yeah,
like
we
I
appreciate
say
it.
Everybody,
thanks for joining us, man.
Up, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace.
Be sure to smash that like button if you enjoyed this video and get notified every time we upload a new one by subscribing and ticking the bell icon. You can also listen to the full episode by searching for Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks on your favorite podcast app. If you'd like to help support more great content like this, be sure to check us out on Patreon. We'll have the link posted in the description below. Thanks for listening, and see you on the next episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks.